Well, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Jay McLovin, here with Celeste Marie Wilson on another edition of the Whiskey Hour. Today, we're going to be talking about the Cranberries. And as Logan has very nicely titled this show, the Cranberries prove that they're timeless. And they are, man. They are absolutely timeless. Before we get into that, Celeste, how are you doing, young lady?
Ooh, I'm tired. Whew. I am
there?
sleepy.
There you
I
are.
am
Okay.
tired. I am sleepy.
I bet you are after all that traffic.
Oh my gosh. All the traffic, studio time.
We can't be too sleepy because when you get done with this, you got to do a lesson today.
It's a little sleepy, but you know what? Good news. Good news, coffee exists.
Thank God. I mean, seriously, like that's the first thing I do when I get up in the morning, Celeste. I will haphazardly make my way to the kitchen. I will go in my little pantry and I will hit that coffee maker because I've already got my little pod in there, it's already down. All I gotta do is hit start, bam. And if I ever get enough money, I'm gonna go get me one of those ones that are pre-programmed. My dad has one of those where it just automatically will do it. You don't have to do nothing. You just go
in the morning.
Ready. It's just ready. It's just there.
You just wake up and it's ready.
And it's just there, Celeste. He puts it on a little timer and it's just there. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And maybe I'll get one of those one day if I can get some more money out of Melanie's hands. She holds that money tight, Celeste. Tight. But
well,
but no, man. Let's talk real quick. Yeah, it is what it is, Celeste. And married life is completely different than single life. I will tell you. Now you guys start, bringing people into the equation, right? It's interesting. So you just did a showcase, a women's showcase, a women's songwriter showcase down in Houston at Rockefeller's, and we had a good time there. If you guys weren't there, you missed a hell of a good time. Let me ask you this, Celeste. Out of all the women that you saw play there, and there was a wide range of age groups of women, variety of music of women. I mean, there was different genres. I mean, it was a very nice, happy medium of different types of music that they were singing. Now, this was all acoustically driven. Who was your favorite artist that you heard of that night?
I think it was the girl with the fiddle, Nicole. What's her last name? I have it in my phone. Nicole.
Oh, I know. That's the one that I got the CD of.
Yeah.
I don't remember her last name is, but I will get that put in the comments.
She goes.
I know, right? She had blonde. Matter of fact, she's
yeah.
Yes.
Her band is called Cast Iron Shoes.
Yeah.
That was my favorite. Ooh, she's got some good music.
She had such a unique sound.
Yeah, she really does.
She was very, I call it West Virginia music. I felt like, see that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like she was like out of the mountains. Even like the way she presented herself, it's like she just kind of came out of the mountains of West Virginia, which I love. Yeah. I love that music, by the way.
Absolutely. No, I can see that.
So what's interesting to me enough was the second, maybe it was the second or the third. The one, I do not know her name. I should have wrote it down. I did not. But she had red hair and she sang, and this is how we got inspired to do Cranberries Day. She actually did a Cranberries song. I think she did do Linger, if I'm not mistaken. Powerful voice, that girl did. I thought she did Dolores O'Riordan, which is the lead singer of the Cranberries. I thought she did her a really good service in presenting that song, because that's a very hard song because it requires such a power voice in some of those lyrics.
Yeah. Nope, she does have a very powerful voice. The lead singer and the artist who covered it.
Yeah. I'm gonna come back out real quick and come back in because I think. Or do me a favor, Celeste. Can you go out and come back in real quick? Because I think there's a delay. Yeah. I just want to see if we can clear up that delay a little bit. While she's or did I go? There we go. Hey, how you doing? I just want her to come back in because I felt like we were having a delay there, and there was awkward silence. I just wanted to kind of bring her back in. But if you guys have not heard the Cranberries, I've been listening to the Cranberries for a long, long time. I think I started listening to Cranberries probably back in the early 90s, maybe around 94 and 95, I think it must have been somewhere around that area. All right, Celeste, how we doing? Is that better?
I think so. Does it
Oh,
seem
that's
better?
much better.
Okay,
Yeah, that
perfect.
seems a lot better. Because I think there was a delay there, and then so it was like we were like this, but now I think we're good.
Okay. Okay, good.
Okay. Are you hearing me okay? Or does it
Yes,
seem
I
like
can
there's a
hear you.
delay?
No, there's not a delay. I don't think
Okay,
so.
good. Okay, good. All right, I think we're back on point then. I was just telling them, I've been listening to the Cranberries now. I think the Cranberries started out when I came out was about 1994, maybe 93, 94, maybe even as late as 95, if I'm thinking correctly. I mean, it's been a long, long time since I've been listening to the Cranberries. I mean, Dolores O'Riordan, she's been around for a long time. For those of you who don't know, the band names are actually Dolores O'Riordan. She's a vocalist. You have Noel Hogan, who's a guitarist. Then you have his brother Mike Hogan that plays bass, and then you have Fergal Lawler on the drums. And it's an Irish band. Obviously, I think when you hear Dolores speak on there, you can pick up real nicely that Irish accent, and I always love the Irish accent. Irish and Scottish accents, I just think are amazing. But what did you think about the Cranberries? Obviously, you heard them play it at the women's showcase, but what did you think about the Cranberries when you went back and heard them on Tiny Desk?
I like them. I like that alt. It's like the early 2000s alt. I think, like, it reminds me a little of Florence and the Machines. Florence and the Machine.
Yeah.
A little
Oh,
bit. That's
yes. Yes. For those of you who don't know, the first time I heard Florence and the Machine was on Taylor Swift.
heck yeah.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can see her on End of an Era. Go watch that docu-series, and you'll be able to hear her perform with Taylor Swift. And she's very earthy, very European, very natural, right?
Right. And that's kind of when I was listening to the Cranberries, that was kind of what reminded me of that. I was like, oh yeah, you know? Like
Absolutely.
it sounded a little like the resonance too being so far back. And that, you know what I'm talking about? That almost opry deep
Yes.
resonance. Yeah, that
Yes.
reminded me a lot of Florence and the
Yes.
Machine. It's a very nice
absolutely.
tone.
When I first heard Dolores, but way back when, it was very 1960ish like vibe. Like they had like even Florence and the Machine had a very 1960s flower child, Woodstocky kind of vibe to them.
Right.
If that makes sense.
They do. They absolutely do.
One of the things that I like about her voice, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but one of the things I like about her voice is, and you don't get this when you just listen to her. It wasn't really until Tiny Desk, I think, is when I really realized about her voice, because typically with the Cranberries, they're a big sound band. They don't typically do acoustic. They're very, very much more production, much more just bigger sounding style of band. So you don't really pick up on her actual voice for what it really is, like you do in the acoustic stripped down version of Tiny Desk. When I listen to her Tiny Desk, her voice seems to be much more delicate, much more soft, a lot more controlled. But then there's times in that concert, and you'll hear it in Zombie, when you can't hear the power in her voice, but you wouldn't normally pick that up. I don't think if you heard her doing electronic sound or big sound that you would typically hear in a concert.
Yeah. No, I could see that because it kind of like when it's stripped down, it's just the bare vocals and they're not doubled or anything. It lets you really hear where that resonance sits.
Right. Yes. And I think if you go back at some point, Celeste, and just go back and listen to Cranberries, just listen to the radio version of their songs, you're going to see how much different her voice sounds in the radio or concert sound versus when she was just stripped down on Tiny Desk. You're going to see a huge leap in the way in the sound, right? I mean, it really is quite dramatic. And but I got to be honest with you, I dig the acoustic stuff better. I just do. I think you hear more of her and not so much the amps and all that kind of stuff behind it.
Yeah. No, I most artists in general, I like their acoustic stuff more than I do their full production.
Right. Absolutely. For those, so we kind of get into, when one of the things I picked up in Tiny Desk is, and you will see it in concert and things like that, but I really picked it up in this. Well, she's very animated in the way that she sings. Her arms are just kind of free flowing, and you can feel it. She's feeling that vibe of the song, when she's singing it. And if you listen to it just on its own and just the way the music is given, not the lyrics, but just the music, it sounds very kind of happy, melancholy-ish, whatever. But when you hear the lyrics come in, Dolores is very dark in the way that she portrays her music. I don't know if you picked up on that.
I didn't really. I don't think I delved into the lyrics that much. I know the zombie song was dark, and I got that one as being dark.
Yeah.
And I think my favorite was the "Do You Have to Let It Linger" one. I've heard that full normal version too, but I don't think that one was particularly dark. Maybe it was. I just didn't pick up on it.
So let's start there. Let's start with the zombie track.
Mm-hmm.
It starts off, and even in the studio version, it starts off soft. It starts off with her being soft, and then that song builds to where by the time she gets to zombie, it's like full force, right? So it's a very soft song. It has very power vocals in it as well. It's a very projected type of voice. The song was actually written around 1994, and there was an incident in 1993. Now I'm predating you, right? I'm going a little bit further. You weren't around for this part, Celeste, but there was a big war going on in Ireland at the time between the IRA, the Irish Republican Army, and the actual army itself of Ireland, right? And so they had kind of you could call it almost like a civil war type of thing. And there were two kids that were actually killed by the IRA in 1993 at the Warrington bombs. And so basically Zombie is actually a song about protesting that war. So that's when the Cranberries came out with it, and it was a protesting of the IRA. That song was actually banned in a lot of areas because people didn't want that song being played because it was protesting the IRA versus the Irish government.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that song's got huge meaning. When they talk about the tanks and the bombs and stuff like that, she's talking about the war that was going on.
She's talking about literal tanks and literal bombs.
Literal bombs, yes. So, yeah, and so that's just kind of one instance where that band, and for the right reasons, because they should be protesting, because that was a terrible thing that was going on during that time period. But that song was to bring resolution, or that song was to bring attention to what was going on. So Zombie was very impactful back in the day. I remember when that song came out, and I remember all the IRA stuff that was going on during that time period. And it was really super sensitive time for that part of Europe anyway. So, yeah, so we'll start with Zombie. And then we kind of move we'll come back to Linger. Linger, again, she's very animated. It's very, how do I say, man? It's a very delicate, but you can hear very strong voices in it. I don't really know too much about what Linger is about. I didn't delve too much into those lyrics. But when I listen to Linger, though, it's just kind of like, do I let it? It's just kind of do I let things, it's kind of, do I want to challenge things? Or don't want to let things linger. It's just kind of like, she's and Dolores O'Riordan, in much of her career and much of her songs, all has to do with something going on in her life. She was very much writing about her life, and I think she used the Cranberries to kind of talk about her life, and she used the Cranberries to talk about more important events that was going on at the time, and that's how she kind of expressed her music, was or that's how she expressed her life was through her music. And so I think you kind of pick up a very personal sense of that. I don't know if did you pick that in the drawers that her songs felt kind of personal.
They did feel very personal throughout the entire thing. Just the way she was singing, and like you said, the animation of it being that animated in that the song makes it, seem very, very personal.
So then you kind of move into the second song of the set, and that was called Tomorrow. And Tomorrow is really, it's like it talks about stop living in your head and live in the moment. That's what that song was about. Like, just get out of your head and live for what the moment is right now. Like, a lot of people tend to worry. Like, I have anxiety, so I worry about a lot of things in life. I do. I just typically go that route. My wife always tells me, Jay, worrying is just a wasted emotion. You can't do nothing about it. And she's right. And I think that's what Dolores was talking about in this song. It's just like, don't overreact to things or don't overthink things. Don't over worry about things. It's like, just stay in the present moment. And that's really what Tomorrow is about. It's just talking about embracing the moment and embracing for what the moment is in that moment and just kind of letting go of everything that's out of you that you can't control. That's what tomorrow is. Tomorrow is like, don't live in tomorrow, just live in today. And I think that's kind of what she was trying to convey in that. I don't know if you picked that up in that song or not.
I did. Yeah, no, I like that song a lot. All of her songs have she has a very distinctive style.
Yes.
Which I really like. I really like the shaker the entire time. That little, I don't know, that kind of made the whole thing, like it made it gave it like this very, do you remember, I mean, I think you probably will, in the early 2000s, how Barnes & Noble looked?
Yeah, I do.
With the dark browns and the cozy whatever, and how in the early 2000s, how Starbucks looked. That is what the Cranberries sounds like to me.
I get that.
Yeah,
I get that. And I think for me, when the guy has got the shaker, I think that's the earthiness that I hear in that song. It's just kind of, it just kind of settles it down, and it's kind of like, it's a soft way of playing the drums without playing the drums.
Yeah,
it doesn't take away from it.
Like, when I hear the Cranberries, when I heard them in the NPR thing, I felt like how I imagine, of course, I was a baby, how I imagine a 22-year-old would feel 2001. I wasn't even alive in 2001. 2001 in the fall with their low-rise jeans and their little camisole top thing and their silly jacket and their hair, and it's probably got like some sort of stripe in it or a feather clipped in there or something, like
very much so.
2000s. And they've got their little wire earbuds in, and they've got their iPod and the Cranberries going, and they're going to Barnes & Noble because it's Saturday. That's what it reminds me of.
Man, you just described me in 1994 when I was riding the subways in Tokyo, Japan as a young 21-year-old. Celeste, I had my little backpack on, but I didn't have an iPod though, Celeste. We didn't have iPods back then. I had little portable CD players. I put my little CD in, and I closed my thing, and I put my CD in my backpack, and I had the little thing come out, and I had my little earbuds in my ears, and I'd be walking through the train stations, just doing whatever Jay did. Probably going to see a girl at some point, because I was always seeing some girl about something. I don't know what I was doing. I was a young kid, but man, those were good times. I miss those days. God, what young Jay was something else.
But that's what the Cranberry sounds like to me. Like,
yes.
It's very nostalgic of that era. Like it's timeless I think, in a similar way to how like Aretha Franklin's timeless.
Oh, absolutely.
Like it's of the time it was made.
Yeah.
But it's like you can listen to it today and enjoy it just as much.
When I was the first time I ever heard the Cranberries was when I was in Japan. I was in Tokyo, and my sister would send me like mixtapes or mixed CDs, and she would just send them through the mail, and I'd get them on the ship, and I'd break them and I'd play them, and so I get like Chili Peppers, Green Day, Smashing Pumpkins, Cranberries, Alice in Chains, whatever, and I would that's how I got into music, was actually through my sister. I got my cousins and all that raised me up on me. I was in music before then, but I really got into music more specifically when my sister started sending me tapes, and that's just kind of how Jay got into the whole musical thing. And I appreciate that. I'm glad she did that. But it's just I guess we'll kind of go to Ode to Family. We'll kind of move that direction now. Ode to Family is about when she got to a level of fame in her career, like when the Cranberries really got hardcore famous, and that's probably right when Linger came out and things like that. She had a very hard time being away from home. She had a pretty good, she would have nostalgia. I guess it's like nostalgic reflections of a bittersweet childhood and longing for the safety of your family because you're out there on the road, you're out there separated, you're out there, doing the music thing, but yet you're feeling lonely and you're kind of having thoughts about wanting to be back home with your family and wanting to do things with the family, and you don't have that. And so Ode to My Family is just kind of like her saying, thank you, family, for giving me all the things you gave me in my childhood, because I lean on that as I'm out here in adulthood and I'm away from you guys. That's kind of what that song is about. What did you think about Ode to Family?
That one was good too. And just the whole set, like I said, it's like very, very cozy almost, which is strange to say
Right.
for an alt artist, but it all feels very like, it sounds like kind of like home, which doesn't make any sense because she's obviously not from Texas, but it
Right.
sounds like that. Like it just sounds like, it sounds warm. That's like warm and earthy.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, again, it's just, I like how her voice is just soft. And, you get the guitar in there, and it's just, you can feel like when she's singing it. I don't know how I love it when I can feel what an artist is singing. Like when they're singing and I feel what they're saying about inside of myself. And I can, it's like I'm connecting. I feel like that's what acoustic music gives you, is the ability to connect with the artist in a way that maybe you wouldn't typically connect with a normal concert or even normal electric music. I think it's so raw and so them that you can very easily connect. Does that make sense?
No, I agree, because you can like hear their voice. It's like when you're talking to someone and they're telling a story. If you're just hearing their voice while they're speaking, there's all this intonation in it. And there are ways that we
Right.
communicate that's not what we say, it's how we say it. And by stripping everything back and having that acoustic set, you're hearing how they're saying it more so than you normally would.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then you kind of we'll go into I believe I want to kind of come back real quick to number 4, which is the fourth song, Zombie. I want to kind of come back to that just for a second. Um, you know, for anybody out there that doesn't know the history of Dolores, she had a very tragic demise. You know, she had just found out that the Bad Wolves. This is about 2012, 2013, somewhere around there. She found out that Bad Wolves. Well, I don't know if you've ever heard the new group called Bad Wolves. I don't know if you've ever heard them, Celeste. But
I
there's
have
a
not.
band out there called Bad Wolves, and they redid. Yeah, they redid Zombie, and she was actually going to lay down tracks in that. It was almost going to be like a duet, and Brad Wolf was going to be the one doing it, and she was just going to kind of like make a cameo performance in the song. And she had called her agent the night before she passed away. She had called her agent and got the voicemail and left on there. I'm so excited about being able to do this, song with Bad Wolves and redo Zombie with them. Like, she was ecstatic. Like, she was over the moon. And her agent says the way he describes it is that she was so full of life, right? Like it was great. One of the things that she suffered from was Dolores was bipolar, and she also had an alcohol addiction. And bipolar and alcohol addiction, they just don't go well together. I mean, it's a very complex thing, right? And so she had after she had gotten off the phone calling her agent, that's when she had passed away. And she passed away because she got intoxicated, and she actually wound up drowning in the bathtub.
Oh my
Now,
gosh.
if anybody knows how crazy that is that Whitney Houston passed away in the bathtub, and so did her daughter, Bobby Christina. Her daughter passed away as well. Both of them the same exact way. All three of them in the bathtub. All three of them like that. And then if you go back even further, Jim Morrison actually OD'd, and they found him in the bathtub. Now, he didn't drown. They just found him in the bathtub. But it just seems to be a common effect or a common theme for a lot of these artists, to do that, and I don't know what the connection is there, but I don't think she didn't plan on that. I mean, her death wasn't a suicide or anything like that. She just got intoxicated, and this is what happened. So I guess if you're an artist, don't drink and get in the bathtub. I guess that's the takeaway. But it's sad. It is, because her stuff was so good, and like I said, it's timeless. And it's very like when I saw the NPR. It's so intimate, and it's so, and like her voice was so angelic. And I think like when she left this earth, she did this concert back in February of 2012. So she passed away 6 years after this concert. But I think this concert, honestly, Celeste, as big as she was, and of all the venues that she played in, I think that little NPR performance was like the cherry on top of her career, because it really gave people an insight into her that they would have had otherwise. And it was such a good, intimate performance that really crowned her legacy in the music world. That concert really, really, really defined her as an artist, because you heard the true her, not the big sound, but you heard the true Dolores and the true Cranberries. And I thought that was a huge performance to have. If you're going to leave this earth, that's the kind of performance you want to leave out.
Yeah, no, that's so true. I did not know that's how she passed away. That's awful.
Yeah, it is. It's her. It was really super tragic. She was super young. I mean, I think she's probably like her late 40s, maybe early 50s when she passed on. The last song is "Raining in My Heart," and again, it's just another really super dark track.
That one I did catch on to being dark. That one I did.
Like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Can we
go ahead and talk about it? Tell me your thoughts on it.
I want to talk about how cool it was that she broke her guitar out for Zombie and she was playing on it. I thought that was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Now, what did you think about "Raining in My Heart"? What were your thoughts when you were listening to it? I know you thought it was dark, but what did you take away from that song specifically?
Now, I'm going to tell you, Jay, and I know you're going to try to prove me wrong after I say this. I don't like songs about rain. I don't like songs that there are two metaphors that I don't like. One is rain, and the other is seasons. I don't know why. I've never felt those. Like, they've never connected with me. So it was a good song, but the rain thing threw me off.
Here's what it was, and I get what you're saying. Like, for her to say it's raining in her heart. I mean, there could have been a million other ways she probably could have went with that song. Matter of fact, Buddy Holly actually has a song called "Raining in My Heart," which is really weird. I don't know why she chose that verbiage when there was another song previous that already had that song title. But regardless, that song though really talked about or expressed the deep sadness or deep longing or emotional pain of being separated from her kids while she was on tour. And so when she'd be on tour, she'd be so emotionally torn, because she'd be torn between her career, and then she's torn between her children, and she's torn between her family and her career. And that's what I think a lot of people don't realize about artists is, there's a lot of loneliness in that lifestyle, because you are so always on the go. You're always so, doing something, whether it be in the studio or where you be on tour. I mean, your tour becomes your family. And sometimes the tour family has more time with you than your actual family does. And as you get bigger, Celeste, in your career, you're going to start seeing that. And that's what I really kind of wanted to talk to you about it, to see how, or I really want to kind of talk to you about this, because a lot of the things that Dolores talks about and the way that she grew up in terms of where she started to where she finished, you're going to go through those things along the way as well, and I'm curious, like how you're going to deal with those kinds of things. Like Dolores felt all this pain and all this sadness. You're not that kind of person. You're a very happy-go-lucky, goofy kind of girl. And but that's what we all love about you. It's very, very infectious. What draws a lot of people to you is your personality. But like Dolores here, she talks about in her songs about the things that artists have to go through with being on the tour and being in the career. How do you think you're going to be able to handle that as you get more popular and as you get more of a fan base? How are you going to navigate those types of things?
Well, I think there's one thing that I have that's lucky. My mom is my manager, so she already goes everywhere with me.
Right.
So that's kind of nice, is having a family inclusive kind of career gives me the opportunity to just kind of bring them with me, which is similar to Taylor Swift, and how a
Very
lot of
much
times
so.
her family
Yeah.
was just there with her because she found a way to make it a part of that,
Yeah.
um and then the other thing I think is just, you know finding time. It's like there's not a million hours in the day. You can't always find time, but you can find 10 minutes to call someone before you go on stage. Shoot them a
Oh
text.
yeah.
It's like I always try to. I was in the studio for the last 2 days, and I worked from like 6 a.m. to like 10 p.m., 2 days in a row.
Right.
But you texted me and I still texted you back. It's the finding the space within you to be still available for people, even if
Right.
it's not at the same level. But I think a lot of artists, they get so caught up because they have, I mean, it's a lot of work to record
Yeah.
all day in the studio, put a whole track down, and then go to sleep and sleep for like 3 hours and get up and do it again. I mean, that can be exhausting.
Absolutely.
But you have to most of our reality is how we choose to view it.
Right. 100%.
And so if you sit down in the studio and you go, "Oh my gosh, it sucks. I'm away from my family and I miss them, and that sucks." Instead, I try to, because everybody's going to have these thoughts. I have these thoughts too. When I'm sitting somewhere and I'm like, "Gosh, I miss my family." I'm like, "Oh my gosh," but also I'm like really lucky to have a family to miss, because a lot of people in the industry don't. And I'm really lucky to be in the studio, because so many people have the dream of being in the studio and never get it. And so it's just trying to rephrase it and like, frame it in a way that kind of takes a bigger picture too, instead of just the moment you're feeling. And then, sometimes you just got to be like, shoot, I do miss him really bad. And say, I'm going to take a 10 and go out and call your mom, or go out and call your
Right.
dad and take that 10 to call him, you know? So it's all just, it is, it is a cycle of stress and learning to deal with the stress, and knowing that worrying about things, it doesn't fix it. And feeling sad about
Yeah.
things, feel the sad feeling, but then acknowledge it and move past it.
And I think you have to. I think if you dwell on it too much, it's gonna mess with your psyche. It's gonna mess with you doing your job and the things that you're there to do. So you're right. I do think you have to kind of compartmentalize some of those things.
Right.
Um, One of the things I love about NPR and this tiny desk experience is, like I said, no matter how big you are, if you're as big as Taylor Swift, or if you're somewhere in the middle ground, like a Hosier or a Cranberries, or even if you're at the low end of just somebody playing who maybe is trying to break into things, it's just such a great medium to be able to do that. And I love this tiny desk experience. I love the way that they put it together and the way that it's presented. I think it's probably one of the most interesting concepts I've seen in a while.
It is very
You know,
cool. I 100% recommend anybody who's listening to go out to in the NPR Tiny Desk site and go find someone you've never heard of and just watch it.
absolutely, absolutely. And again, there's a lot of people that have done it. T-Pain has done it, which I don't know if I've ever thought T-Pain would do it. I think even that threw Celeste off on that one. but there's a lot of people that have done it. Like I said, if you can imagine anybody and everybody has probably at some point been either in Tiny Desk or done something similar to Tiny Desk, because a lot of people will need that type of experience. And it's good to see big artists. I love it when a big artist will do something like that. Dave Grohl with the Foo Fighters, when anytime he does a song in Nashville or does a tour date in Nashville, he always goes down to Music Row and he always finds a local little venue and he will go in there and he will play, about 5 or 6 songs just off the rip. Just show up and play 6 or 7 songs and then he'll leave and then he'll go somewhere else, I guess wherever his hotel is or whatever, which I think is the coolest thing ever, is when artists are able to do that. Even when they're at the biggest of their height of their career, when they find ways to do things on a smaller level, I just think that's special. And it really gives you an ability to see them in a different way and in a different light than what you typically would. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. I would absolutely agree with that.
So as we go, like, what was your to date? Now, I know, let's take Taylor Swift off the shelf and put her off to the side. Nobody puts Baby in the corner, but we're gonna put Baby in the corner for about 5 seconds. Out of all the Tiny Desks that you've heard up to now, what has been your favorite? Now, again, Taylor Swift is off. I already know that if I let Taylor Swift on there, that would be your number one. So I got to take Taylor Swift off because, okay, I do. Just for this specific reason. Outside of Taylor Swift, what other artist on NPR's Tiny Desk have you, and again, this could be anybody that we haven't covered yet or ones that we have covered yet. Who is your next favorite concert?
Ooh. I think it might be Lave.
Lave was really good.
Do you remember that one with the
I do.
That one was really good.
Yeah.
That one was really, really good. She's like meant for Tiny Desk. Like she just ate it up.
Yeah, no, 100%, because she's so. What I remember about Lave was, number one, her name was so interesting to say. It took me forever to figure out how to say that dang name, but anyway, she had a very operatic style and a very operatic sound. That's yes. What I remember about. But it was very smooth and it was like glass and it was unforced. It was natural, right? It was beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it really was.
It was very natural, and then she was just so like she was just there doing it herself, really. Right. Like there wasn't any. It wasn't showy really at all. I mean, it was very singer-songwriter.
Very much so. Very much so. It's hard for me to pick one. Like I said, Lave was beautiful. I enjoyed it. Weezer, I would pick Weezer, but the problem with Weezer is that when you go to a Weezer concert, they already do Tiny Desk. It's almost like they have Tiny Desk built into their concert set because they do a lot of acoustic stuff even before the main show really starts down in front of the stage. So it's very hard to pick Weezer because they do that kind of stuff already. Yeah. So then I look at the Cranberries. And the reason why I think this Tiny Desk, for me, why I enjoyed it so much is because I've grown up hearing the big sound of them. And I've never heard the acoustic side of Dolores. And the fact that, I felt like that one concert, I really felt like it was like the closing chapter to a very storied career that she's had. And the one thing you want to do as an artist is when you leave your career, you want to leave it in a way that you're going to be hugely remembered. Your last concert performance, honestly, I feel like should be your best. Like that should be your magnum opus when you leave your career, right? That should be it's like when you go through school and you got to give a thesis in your PhD to graduate. Like your thesis is everything. And you spend your whole life working on the thesis. And then you finally give your thesis to the professor, and that's your final graded outcome. And that's how you become a doctor in whatever field you're going into, right? And I felt like for them, that was their magnus opus. That was her thesis at the end of her career. And it's sad that it ended so shortly. But if you're going to go out and leave that career, leave the life, that's a beautiful way to leave it. And so that, for me, is why it was the best. You can also say T-Pain, because who the hell would ever thought T-Pain would get up there and sing? I would have never expected that. But no, for me, I guess for very personal reasons, that one was my favorite.
Yeah, that one is a good one. I was gonna say my second probably would have been Weezer. I really liked the Weezer one.
It wasn't that
It
good?
was fun. That was fun.
You
I
know what
liked
I
the
thought
Weezer
was
one a
interesting
lot.
about Weezer was he didn't even play his best hits. Like he did like some off track stuff. You would think, okay, if I'm going NPR, I'm gonna play probably maybe my top 4 or 5 songs to date, but he didn't do that. A lot of the songs that he sang were B level songs or B-sided songs that he actually put on Tiny Desk. And I don't know if he did that, if that was a strategic move to get more attraction to those songs, but I thought it was well played on his part because he could have easily
Yeah.
broke out, Island in the Sun or
Oh,
whatever, but he didn't do that.
No, he didn't. That would have been.
That was
It
phenomenal.
would have been.
All right,
Yeah.
I know you. No, that would have been what?
It would have been cool to have just.
Oh, or did you finish? Yeah.
One song that was one of his hits. I mean, I understand doing none of the big hits because I think it gives those songs that are like B-sides a lot of publicity that they otherwise really don't have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but
Absolutely.
I wonder how they pick them.
It's interesting.
Who picks them? Who picks
And I've
what
wondered
you
that
see on
too.
Tiny
I don't know
Desk?
how they.
How do you decide that? Does the
I feel like
artist decide?
the artist is the one that does that.
Okay.
I feel like it is. I don't know for sure. You know what? I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna research that.
You
Next
research
time
that. Because
I'll
I don't
research
know.
and I will find the answer. Me personally, I feel like it's an artist call on that.
I think it's the
But I will
artist's call,
research
too.
that and see if I can get a more definitive answer. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, because if it was the venue doing it, I think the venue would have wanted more of their headlining songs from Weezer and not necessarily the B-sided songs. I just think that's a natural thing for PR purposes, for ratings purposes, that they would have gone that direction. So I want to say it's the artist that picks those songs, but I'm gonna research it and I'm gonna find out that answer next time we hook up next week. I will give you the answer to that question.
Heck yeah.
Jay's got homework. All right, folks. I've monopolized her long enough. She does have a career to get to and voice lessons to take. Celeste, and before we get out of here, anything you want to say on this concert series before we get out of here?
Not that I can think of.
All right. Sweet to the simple. Hey, you guys, this has been the Cranberries Tiny Desk episode of the Whiskey Hour. I appreciate everybody joining in. Jamie, I saw you came in, man. Appreciate you, brother. You guys, if you enjoy listening to me and Celeste and you want to hear more Celeste Marie Wilson music, you can get that at CelesteMarieWilsonMusic.com at the link below. You can also find out her dates, where she'll be performing next, any music she has out, and all of her merchandise can be found right there. And if you just want to see her on Facebook to find those funny little clips of her throwing signs off of lyrics or with her with colors in her hair driving in a car, you can certainly find that on Facebook at Celeste Marie Wilson. And that's, hey, look, you know what though? That is Southern charm at its best.
Like that. There we go.
Like that, exactly. But with curlers. It's been your boy Jay McLovin along with Celeste Marie Wilson. We will catch you guys next Wednesday. Y'all have a good one. We out.